The morning sun filtered softly through the cream-colored curtains of the suburban house. Birds chirped outside, the sound mixing with the laughter of two little girls playing with their dolls in the living room. Their father, Ethan Brooks, a 34-year-old architect, poured himself a cup of coffee in the kitchen. The dark circles under his eyes told the story of sleepless nights. Nights spent balancing his demanding job and caring for his 6-year-old twin daughters. Emma and Ella. Ethan had been raising them alone ever since his wife, Lydia, passed away in a car accident 3 years ago. Since then, his life had been a tightrope between love and exhaustion. "Daddy, Emma broke my doll's leg again." Ella's voice rang out, followed by a high-pitched giggle from her sister. Ethan sighed, placing the mug down. "Girls, please. Daddy's got a meeting in an hour. Can we not have any doll drama today?" The twins exchanged guilty smiles, then ran to hug him anyway. Their tiny arms around his waist always reminded Ethan why he kept pushing through. But deep down, he knew something had to change. He needed help. Someone who could look after the girls while he worked. Someone kind, someone trustworthy. That's when his best friend Mark suggested hiring a babysitter. "Come on, man," Mark had said. "You can't keep doing this alone. I know someone, young, responsible. She's new in town and looking for part-time work." Ethan hesitated. "I don't want a stranger taking care of my kids," Mark chuckled. "She's not a stranger. I met her through a local volunteering event. Her name's Sophie. She's great with kids. Just give her a chance." That's how it all began. The interview later that week, Sophie knocked on the Brooks' front door. Ethan opened it expecting an ordinary girl, but what he saw left him momentarily speechless. She stood there holding a small purse, wearing a light blue blouse and jeans. Her chestnut hair was tied back neatly, her hazel eyes glowing with warmth. She smiled nervously. "Hi, Mr. Brooks, I'm Sophie. Sophie Hart. I'm here for the babysitting position." Ethan cleared his throat, trying not to seem awkward. "Right, yes. Come in, Sophie." The twins peeked from behind the couch, whispering to each other. "She's pretty," Emma giggled. Sophie knelt down to their level. "You must be Emma and Ella. I brought something for you." She pulled 2 small bracelets from her bag, one pink, one blue. "Friendship bracelets. If I get the job, we'll be friends, okay?" The twins' faces lit up instantly. "Okay!" they shouted in unison. Ethan couldn't help but smile. He hadn't seen the girls connect with anyone new in a long time. As the interview went on, Sophie's natural kindness shone through. She had experience volunteering at a children's hospital and seemed genuinely patient. Ethan felt a sense of relief he hadn't felt in years. "All right," he finally said, "you're hired." Sophie's smile widened. "Thank you, Mr. Brooks, I won't let you down." If only he knew. She wasn't just any babysitter. The secret behind the smile, Sophie Hart, wasn't who she seemed. In truth, she was Sophie Harrison, the only daughter of Richard Harrison, the CEO of Harrison Enterprises, one of the most powerful companies in the state. Her father was known for his arrogance and wealth. Sophie was known for her rebellion against it. She'd grown tired of luxury, fake friends, and being treated like a trophy. After a huge argument with her father about her irresponsible lifestyle, Sophie had left home. She wanted to prove she could make it on her own, without the Harrison name. So she changed her last name to Hart and started looking for small jobs. That's when she met Mark, Ethan's friend, at a volunteer event. He had no idea she was the CEO's daughter, and Sophie wanted to keep it that way. Her new life began right there, as a babysitter for a single father and his twins. First days at the Brooks' home, Sophie quickly became part of the family. She cooked breakfast for the girls, braided their hair for school, helped them with homework, and told bedtime stories that made them giggle until they fell asleep. Ethan watched quietly, feeling something inside him heal. For years, he had shut himself off from emotions other than love for his daughters. But now, when he saw Sophie reading to them, smiling at him across the dinner table, or humming softly while washing dishes, he felt warmth returning to his cold, tired heart. One evening after putting the girls to bed, Ethan and Sophie sat in the living room. "You're amazing with them," Ethan said quietly. "I don't know how you do it," Sophie smiled shyly. "Maybe because I didn't really get much of that kind of love growing up. My dad was always busy." Ethan nodded. "I understand. I used to be that kind of man, always working. Until I lost Lydia, then I realized what really matters." Their eyes met. It wasn't romantic yet, but there was something there. A silent understanding between two souls who had both lost something. The growing connection weeks passed. Sophie became more than just a babysitter. She became family. She made pancakes shaped like hearts, taught the twins to ride their bikes, and even convinced Ethan to take a break from work to join them at the park. One Saturday afternoon, as the twins ran ahead, Sophie and Ethan sat on a bench. Watching them laugh, Ethan turned to her. "You know, I can't remember the last time I saw them this happy." Sophie smiled, her hair glowing under the sun. "They just needed someone to listen, and so did you." Ethan looked at her, realizing how right she was. That night, when Sophie tucked the girls in, they whispered, "Daddy likes you." Her cheeks turned red. "Oh, stop it," she said, laughing. But in her heart she wondered, did he? The night of the storm a week later, the weather changed. A violent thunderstorm rolled through the town. The wind howled, rain lashed the windows, and thunder shook the house. Emma and Ella ran into Ethan's room, crying, "Daddy, the thunder is scary." Ethan tried to comfort them, but they wouldn't calm down. Then Sophie appeared, holding a flashlight. "Hey," she whispered gently, "let's build a fort. Monsters can't find us inside forts." The girls stopped crying instantly. Within minutes, she had turned blankets and chairs into a magical little tent. The twins snuggled inside, and Sophie read them a story by flashlight until they drifted off to sleep. Ethan stood by the doorway, watching her with quiet admiration. When she looked up, their eyes met again. This time there was no denying it. Something powerful had formed between them. "Thank you," Ethan said softly. "For everything," Sophie smiled. "You don't have to thank me. They're incredible kids. You're an incredible dad." But as she said it, guilt flickered in her eyes. Because deep down she knew she wasn't being completely honest. The unexpected visitor the next morning. As Sophie dropped the twins off at school, a black limousine pulled up across the street. The tinted window rolled down. A familiar voice spoke. "Sophie." Her heart stopped. It was Richard Harrison and her father. "What are you doing here?" she whispered, panicking. "I could ask you the same," he said coldly. "My assistant told me you've been working as a babysitter. For some single dad?" "His name is Ethan Brooks," she said defensively. "And he's a good man." Richard's jaw tightened. "Do you have any idea how this looks for the Harrison family? You running around playing nanny? You have a future, Sophie, a place in the company." "I don't want your company," she snapped. "I want a life that means something." He sighed heavily. "This isn't over. You'll come home soon enough." The car drove away, leaving Sophie trembling. She knew she had to keep her secret safe, especially from Ethan. He'd never understand. The breaking point that evening. Ethan noticed Sophie seemed distracted. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Yeah," she said quickly, forcing a smile. "Just tired." But the smile didn't reach her eyes. Over the next few days, she grew quieter, lost in thought. The twins noticed it too. "Miss Sophie, are you sad?" Emma asked one night. Sophie knelt down, hugging her. "No, sweetheart. I'm just thinking about some grown-up stuff." But she was lying, and not to hurt them, but to protect them. Because deep down she knew her father wouldn't stop. And when the truth came out, everything she had built with this family could fall apart. The unspoken feelings one night, as they cleaned up dinner together, Ethan turned to her. "Sophie, I don't know how to say this, but you've changed our lives. You've changed me." Sophie froze. "Ethan, I don't want to make things awkward," he continued, "but I can't ignore it anymore. You've become a part of us. I care about you more than I should." Her heart raced. She had wanted to hear those words, but not like this. Not when she was hiding such a huge truth. She looked down, tears forming. "Ethan, there's something I need to tell you." But before she could continue, the twins ran in shouting, "Movie night!" Ethan smiled softly. "We'll talk later, okay?" Sophie nodded, but inside her heart ached because later might be too late. The morning after the almost confession, the house felt strangely quiet. Ethan brewed coffee in the kitchen, but his mind wasn't on breakfast. He couldn't stop thinking about what Sophie had tried to tell him last night. Something in her eyes said it was important. But before he could ask, the doorbell rang. He opened it to see a man in a sharp black suit standing on the porch. "Good morning." the man said curtly. I'm looking for Miss Sophie Harrison. Ethan frowned. You must have the wrong house. There's no one here by that name. The man's jaw tightened. Oh, I think you're mistaken. Sophie Harrison, daughter of Richard Harrison, CEO of Harrison Enterprises. She's been staying here, hasn't she? Ethan's heart skipped. What did you just say? Before the man could respond, Sophie appeared behind Ethan, her face pale as snow. Please, she whispered. Don't do this here. The man glanced at her coldly. Your father sent me. He wants you home now. Ethan looked between them, confusion turning into disbelief. Sophie, what is he talking about? She turned to him slowly, tears glistening in her eyes. Ethan, I wanted to tell you I swear I did. My real name is Sophie Harrison. My father is Richard Harrison. He owns Harrison Enterprises. The words hung in the air like a blade. Ethan stepped back. You mean, you lied to me? You lied to my girls? I didn't lie, she said desperately. I needed to be someone else. I wanted to live a real life, not the one my father forced on me. He shook his head, the betrayal sinking deep. You came into our lives pretending to be someone you're not. How could I ever trust you after that? Tears rolled down her cheeks. Ethan, please, go, he said quietly. Just go, Sophie's heart shattered. She looked up the staircase where Emma and Ella stood silently holding their dolls. Miss Sophie, Ella whispered. Why is Daddy angry? Sophie forced a trembling smile. It's okay, sweethearts. Be good, okay? Then she walked out into the cold rain, her tears mixing with the storm. The house without her days passed. The twins were quieter. They asked for Sophie at breakfast, at bedtime, even when Ethan read their favorite story. Daddy, Emma asked softly one night, did Miss Sophie go away because of us? Ethan's heart twisted. No, sweetheart. She had to go because she had things to fix. But even as he said the words, he wasn't sure who he was trying to convince, his daughters or himself. At work, he couldn't focus. Every time he looked at his desk, he saw her handwriting on a post-it note. Don't forget to smile, as he missed her laughter. He missed how she could calm the twins when he couldn't. But most of all, he missed how she made the house feel alive again. Sophie's world back in her father's mansion. Sophie sat in her old room, a golden cage she once called home. Her father stood by the window, his tone cold as ever. You embarrassed this family, he said. You ran away like a child working as a babysitter. Do you have any idea how this looks? Sophie met his eyes, her voice trembling but strong. Maybe it looks human, Father. Maybe for once I wasn't pretending to be perfect. I was happy. Happy? He scoffed. You threw away your status, your inheritance, your future for happiness? She swallowed hard. Yes, because for once I was loved for who I am, not what I own. Her father's expression softened just slightly. That man, Ethan Brooks, and he's beneath you, Sophie. He can't give you the life you deserve. She shook her head, tears falling. You don't understand. He already did, and with that she walked out again. But this time she wasn't running away. She was running towards something real. A letter in the mail 2 weeks later, Ethan came home from work to find an envelope on his porch. No name, no return address. Just his name and handwritten in familiar, neat letters. He hesitated, then opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Dear Ethan, I know I hurt you. I never meant to deceive you or the girls. I only wanted a chance to feel normal, to be seen for something other than my father's name. The days I spent with you and the twins were the happiest of my life. You reminded me what family feels like, what love feels like. I'm sorry for not telling you sooner. You deserved honesty and I failed you. I don't expect forgiveness. But please tell Emma and Ella that I love them, always. Sophie Ethan stood there for a long moment staring at the letter. He felt anger, sadness, regret, but underneath it all love. Because even through the lie, every moment they shared had been real. That night, he tucked the twins into bed, kissed their foreheads, and sat alone in the living room reading her letter again and again until dawn. A twist of fate one evening. Mark stopped by. Hey, he said, sitting down. You look terrible. Ethan chuckled faintly. Thanks, Mark hesitated. You know that girl, Sophie? I saw something online. Harrison Enterprises is hosting a charity event tomorrow. It's open to the public. Ethan looked up slowly. Charity event? Yeah, she might be there. Ethan said nothing. But that night, as he looked at his daughters sleeping peacefully, he made a decision. The next evening he dressed in his best suit, dropped the twins off at his sister's place, and drove downtown to the Grand Hotel where the charity gala was being held. The lobby shimmered with chandeliers and silk gowns. Everyone there looked like they had stepped out of a magazine. Ethan felt completely out of place until he saw her. Sophie stood near the stage wearing a silver gown that caught the light with every movement. She looked stunning, but her eyes still carried that same quiet kindness he'd fallen for. For a moment, he just watched her. Then, gathering his courage, he walked over. The reunion she turned and froze. "Ethan," he smiled faintly. "So I finally meet the real Sophie Harrison." Her throat tightened. "I'm sorry. I know I don't deserve—" He cut her off gently. "Stop, you don't owe me an apology. You owe me honesty, and you've already given me that." Tears welled in her eyes. "I thought you'd never want to see me again." "I didn't," he admitted. "But then I realized I wasn't angry because you lied. I was angry because I missed you." Her hand trembled in his. "Ethan," he smiled softly. "Come home, Sophie." She looked into his eyes, searching for doubt, but found none. For the first time in months, she felt peace. The family reunited a week later. Sophie returned to the Brooks house, not as a babysitter, but as herself. When Emma and Ella saw her, they screamed with joy. "Miss Sophie," they shouted, running into her arms. Ethan watched, his heart full. "Looks like they missed you." Sophie laughed, wiping tears from her eyes. "I missed them more." From that day forward, things changed, but for the better. Sophie continued to work with children, starting a small foundation to help single parents. Ethan supported her every step of the way, and slowly, their bond grew into something unbreakable. The proposal a year later, on a quiet Sunday morning, Ethan took Sophie and the girls to the park, the same park where they had once built sandcastles and shared ice cream. While the twins played, Ethan turned to Sophie, his eyes filled with emotion. "You know," he said, "when you walked into my life, I thought you were just a babysitter. Turns out you were the answer to every prayer I didn't know I had." Sophie smiled through tears. "Ethan." He knelt down, pulling a small box from his pocket. Inside was a delicate ring with a butterfly design, just like the bracelets she had given the twins on her first day. "Will you marry me?" Sophie covered her mouth, tears falling freely. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." The twins ran over, squealing. "Does this mean you're our mommy now?" Sophie laughed, hugging them tightly. "If you want me to be." And as Ethan wrapped his arms around them all, the sun broke through the clouds, just like it had the day she first knocked on his door. Epilogue. 1 year later, the Brooks Harrison home was filled with laughter again. Sophie sat on the porch, holding baby photos in her lap. Inside, Ethan helped the twins with their school projects while dinner simmered on the stove. Life wasn't perfect. It was better than that. It was real, and every time Ethan looked at her, he was reminded of the day fate brought a stranger to his door. A stranger who turned out to be his greatest blessing.